The camera, to cam or not to cam. Cultivating a classroom environment to foster exceptional learning and a sense of community where students want to turn their cameras on. Okay, let's face it, we've all had our bad hair days or that stain that appears on our shirt right before class starts. But if we're bold and confident and we create a very encouraging and supportive environment in the classroom, the students will feel not only comfortable but excited to turn their cameras on. And when everyone has their cameras on, the Zoom synchronous classes become very enriching, fulfilling, and engaging for everyone involved. So in this whole new world of synchronous online education, the camera plays a huge part. Traditionally, we were face-to-face. Now, we're not in the same room, but we really can be face-to-face. For some instructors, they definitely want to have all the students with their cameras on. But in certain situations, some students don't feel comfortable with the cameras on. So what do? We want to create an environment where we encourage students to turn their cameras on and not force them or mandate it in our syllabus. From everything I've read in research, the best way to do it is to encourage them to want to turn it on. So what I like to do is start it kind of lighthearted. I say, don't be a stranger. Imagine if you had a party and a few guests walked in with paper bags over their heads. Would you want to go talk to them? You would probably feel a little standoffish. Imagine if you were on a blind date and your date walked in with a paper bag over his head. How would you feel? Would you feel like this is someone you want to get to know, or would you kind of be looking at the closest exit? So make it lighthearted and then make them understand the benefits of turning the cameras on. Instead of making it seem like it's something the instructor demands, the instructor wants, show them how they can benefit from having their cameras on. I tell them, look, we're in a family together for 4 months in this class. We meet every single day as a group, and we need to really form a communal bond in this group. And the best way to do that is to have your cameras on so we could see you. I talk about nonverbal communication, that so much of our communication is through hand gestures, body language, facial expressions. So that when you don't have the camera on, you're actually communicating with us in a very small way. You're limiting so much of what you could communicate with me and the rest of the classroom. And also I tell them having the cameras on really enhances real-time collaborative learning. So when students are giving feedback, asking questions, they're naturally going to be interacting more with the students they could see. And they may not be as open with the students whose cameras are turned off. Then I tell them, help me help you. As an instructor, I do so much better when I could see everyone's faces. It's just natural human nature. When I'm speaking to a group and I could see everyone's reactions, I am going to be more confident, I'm going to be more open and more comfortable. So in a way, they're getting a much better instruction from the class because the cameras are on. So I don't tell them that I want them to do it for my own benefit. I tell them, look, if you have all of your cameras on, I'm going to be able to be a better teacher for you. Fostering relationships. I tell them throughout the semester, I want to really get to know them. I want to know them more than just a name in my grade book. And one way to do that is to have the cameras on. And the other students want to get to know each other. So when they're doing group work, they get to interact with each other in a much more collaborative sense. And another thing that's unique that I think that people don't think about is that the actual prep to be seen leads to attentiveness. So when I get ready, put on a shirt, comb my hair, I sit in a chair, sit up straight, because I know that everyone else in the class could see me, and therefore I am paying more attention. I know that when I don't have the camera on, I kind of lose attention. I become a spectator. I'm not really actively interacting in the class. And I tell my students I want all of them to be active participants, be a part of the team, and not just sit back and be a spectator. I've also learned that having cameras on in the classroom has shown to alleviate social isolation anxiety that we've all experienced over the last year and a half. So what about the students that just don't want to have the cameras on? Let's talk about that. Initially, we think, well, is it because they don't want to participate? Not always. We have to take equity and inclusion into consideration. There are some students that just don't feel comfortable showing their background or their home space. All these years, students have come to class. Now the class is coming into their home. So naturally, there's certain students that just don't feel like they're in a space that they want to share with the others. There might be some technical limitations as well in terms of quality of the laptop or computer, webcam, or broadband speed. The one thing you can tell them is that if they can watch Netflix or YouTube, they should have no problem using Zoom, and it's not going to tax their family's internet connection. If they do have issues with using things like virtual backgrounds because their computer is old, offer them potential solutions. Meet with them one-on-one and ask them, why do you not want to have the camera on? And talk to them and come up with solutions. And the mere fact that you're taking the time to come up with constructive solutions makes them really feel like, hey, my professor wants me to be a part of this class. They're really trying. And therefore, the student will make some kind of compromise. Perhaps turn on the camera, even if they don't feel completely comfortable. And then I also do small group interactions so that some students feel shy and don't want to be a part of the whole group, but if it's a small group, they might feel comfortable. And after a few small group interactions, perhaps they'll feel bold enough to turn it on for the whole class. So I also show them how the camera can be fun and really lead to a lot of engagement. So I talk about the importance of individuality. Like I said, I want to get to know you. So at the beginning of the semester, I asked them to introduce themselves or show me something that's unique or special to them. I introduce fun activities, like show me something funny. I say, if you want to ask a question, don't use the chat or emojis. Actually raise your hand so I could see you and stop what I'm doing and answer the question. Otherwise, I may overlook you. If they're background shy, and who hasn't been shy of something in the background, what I like to do is show them something in my own background, like a messy shelf or a dying plant. If there's disturbances that they're embarrassed about, I show them my dog sometimes or my daughter. And once they understand that these background issues, disturbances are just normal, part of the current world of synchronous learning and teaching, and if they understand it's part of the common world of synchronous teaching, they themselves might not feel embarrassed, and they'll say, well, he's got a messy bookshelf, so do I. Let me turn on the camera. I also use some past student experiences. There was a student in my class that was really shy to turn his camera on. Slowly through the semester, he started turning it on. In the last few weeks, he had it on every single class. And at the end of the semester, he told me, wow, he got such a better experience from the class since he had his camera on. These kind of experiences can really help other students understand the importance and the benefit of having the camera on. And finally, I talk to them about the wandering mind and camera accountability. Many times when we have the camera on, we know we're being watched, so we are really watching and learning and interacting and listening. When the camera is off, our mind can wander. We can check text messages and emails or gaze out the window, and we kind of lose connection with what's going on in the class. So the camera holds us accountable. So we want to give students an exceptional learning experience in a comfortable, inclusive, and supportive environment. Don't think of your class as a lecture. Think of it as having a conversation where you could create an electric exchange of ideas. A couple of ways I do this is I start with the germ of an idea, a seed. And then I ask one student to add something and another student to add another idea. And slowly they all participate, adding ideas to this one seed, and we see a concept blossom with everyone's interaction and participation. Sometimes I'll introduce a topic or voice an opinion that's wrong, and I ask them to prove me wrong. Tell me why I'm wrong. Show me what the right answer is or the right direction should have been. So in these ways, instead of me just lecturing and asking questions to test them if they were listening, I have a very multifaceted conversation with them where I can really see that they're learning and listening, and they feel listened to, that their opinion and what they've learned and what they think is important to the class. And as always, just remember, don't force them, encourage them to turn on the camera, and hopefully they'll want to do so.